Hey YouTube friends, Brody Man here, the Vintage Nerd. Today we're going to be doing a quick review on a 1/6 scale body from the company Ghul model. If you've seen my previous video, then you know this is going to be for a custom Ghul figure that I'm making from Batman Begins. It's been a long time desired figure for me to have in my collection. Hot Toys is yet to make it. I don't know that they're ever going to make it. You know, I've kind of given up hope on that. So, you know, I'm going down the road of making my own custom. This is my first time I've ever done a custom in a 6 scale figure. You know, so it's kind of a learning process for me. You know, I'm kind of trying to focus these videos on things that I haven't really found videos people, you know, reviewing or talking about too much already. You know, so that being said, I did some preliminary research on, you know, which body I wanted to get, you know, just based off of what I know, you know, from the movie, watching it so much, what I know about Liam Neeson, the actor. You know, Liam Neeson apparently is about 6'4", 6'6", you know, he's a pretty tall guy. In comparison to Christian Bale, you know, Christian Bale is supposedly 6 foot tall even, so, you know, he's got a good 4 to 6 inches on him. But that being said, that's why I got out my Bruce Wayne Armory figure here for comparison's sake, because this particular figure that I found from Ghul Models was the only one that I could find, and I'm not saying they're the only ones out there. I mean, for all I know, you know, there's another company, I just couldn't find it. But Ghul Models was the only company that I saw that made particularly what was listed as an extra tall body. Here, you know, it says this is a model BD002 standard male high body, tall body, high body, whatever. So this figure, you know, if you kind of take the proportions next to another 6 scale, like a Hot Toy standard size body, this is supposed to equal out to like a 6'4", 6'6" body, which is exactly what I'm gunning for. Full disclosure, guys, I already opened this up, kind of checked it out, you know, did my once over, just so I was kind of prepared to talk about it a little bit. But, you know, I went ahead and put it back in the package here so you can kind of see how I got it. You know, so we'll start there. You know, as far as the packaging goes, I was expecting it to be not necessarily like on a card with a bubble or even in a fancy, you know, box, like a Hot Toys box. You know, no, I wasn't expecting that by any stretch. But I definitely wasn't expecting to get it in a Ziploc bag. But hey, you know, it looks official. You know, they got their company information on there. The different types of bodies that they carry, and, you know, so what can I say? You know, it's a body that you're gonna use to build on top of. I guess they didn't need to get flashy with the packaging, so I'm going to pull this out so you guys can see it here. Whoops, pulling out some of the accessories too. We'll get to those in a minute. Okay, so here's the body. I'm actually really pleased with it. Really pleased. You know, as I said, I've never bought a third-party 6 scale body before, so I don't have much to compare it to. But, you know, one thing that stood out to me right away about the figure is it's got some really snug joints. And I love that. You know, your fear when it comes to buying action figures out of the package is, you know, you're going to get a loose joint, you know, in the shoulder or leg. Figure's not going to hold, you know, positions correctly. You know, and it's kind of one of those problems that once you have it, you can't really fix it too easily. But this guy has got some really snug joints. I love that. You know, that means he's going to hold a whole bevy of positions. Whoops. Okay, so I'm just kind of showing you a real quick overview. You know, he's got double jointed knees, so that bends all the way back. Ball joints in the hips. He's got pretty good movement there. Can't do full splits, but that's okay. Don't need him to do that. He's got some swivel shoulders. So they've got the back and forth action, up and down. They only go so high here, but that's, you know, it's kind of accurate. You turn the bicep over, and then you can get the over the head, you know, if you're going for a Superman pose or anything like that. Double jointed elbows. Pretty good curl there. You can get it all the way in. Touch his chest. I like that. Joint has a nice, you know, crunch. He does hold the up and down on that. I noticed that when I turn it side to side, he pops back into position. I don't really know much about how these kind of figures are made, so I gotta assume there's kind of a rubber band in there of some sort, but he definitely holds the back and forth okay, so that's good. Waist swivels, so we're in good shape there, guys. You know, foot articulation, he's got ball joint in the foot. You can see the ankles are a little loose, but we're going to talk about that in a second. He's got the anatomically incorrect toe bend, because I don't know anybody whose toes who bend like that, but you know, for the sake of posing an action figure, that does come in handy when, you know, it comes to certain poses. You know, if you're gonna kind of put him on a back foot like he's getting ready to run off or something, you know, that does help. So let's bring it down to these ankles here. So, you know, as far as the figure being extra tall, I got him at full height, I guess is what I should call it. And I'm gonna put him next to Bruce here so you can see size wise, you know, how tall we're talking. So right now my COO model's figure, he doesn't have a head, but you can see he's already almost as tall as Bruce. You know, at his shoulder alone, he meets, you know, pretty close to the top of his head there. So he's a really tall figure. I went ahead and pulled out, if I had the Ghul head, I would just pop that on there, but you know, that's already been shipped to, you know, the guy I selected to paint it. He lives out in Japan, so they're out of here. I unfortunately can't pose them with that, but I went ahead and brought out a guest star. I brought Chris Evans out to play for a minute, just so we can see what this is going to look like with a head sculpt on top. Let me pop that on there. Alright, so as you can see, with both ankle extensions, with the head on there, he is ridiculously tall, like super tall, like Lopan from Big Trouble in Little China tall. So I don't think Liam Neeson's quite that tall next to, you know, Christian Bale. He's not a short guy himself, so that's obviously not going to work. But that was part of the beauty of this figure, because they gave you a really quick way to adjust the height, you know, on the fly, which would be to remove one of the ankle extenders. He's got two of them, so you can actually reduce his height 2 times. You know, you can take one out, you can take both out. In my case, I know for a fact, because I've done it once already, that the taking one out is going to work. But that was one thing I did learn about this figure, or this particular brand of figure. The peg, the ball joint that's in there on the ankle extender, I mean, once you take that off like that, or yeah, in particular like this one here, that is a pain in the butt to get out. Like, that is not on there finger tight, guys. You're gonna need maybe some pliers or a little vise or something. This is not the easiest thing in the world to get out of there. So once you get your tool, whatever it is you do, and pop those out, you can pop it back into the foot, and then you're in business. Actually, this one came out with the foot, so that's good. Okay, so there we go. Both of the feet are on with just the single ankle extender. And obviously, yeah, he still looks like he's tall, but he's the right size. He's the right height in his how tall he is. Just to kind of show you what I'll do is I'll put him directly behind Bruce here, and you'll see that the top of Bruce's head is now right at his eye line, which I would say honestly gives him about a 4-inch height advantage, and that's exactly what Liam Neeson should be next to Bruce. So I think this figure is gonna be perfect. I'm already loving it. So the next step here is while I'm waiting for my heads to come back, there's going to be a bit of a turnaround time coming from where they're coming from and the time it's going to take them to paint them. I figured acquiring the body, would be the good next move, so I can go ahead and start fabricating the costume that he's going to be wearing. That'll probably be the only part of this build I'm going to be doing myself, only because I have some experience, doing some costume making, a little bit of tailoring. Obviously, it's always been for people. I've never had to do it for a 1/6 scale figure, but there's already things that are kind of making me feel like it's going to be more difficult, even though it's smaller. you know, just particularly because you're gonna have to find the right fabric so it hangs the way it's supposed to on the character. But you know, that's a challenge that I'm up for. You know, it shouldn't be too expensive considering that it's not going to take a lot of fabric to sew a costume for a guy this size. You know, so I already picked up some scrap just to kind of practice, maybe make some templates, and you know, we'll start going from there. So hopefully I have a video up of my progress on that pretty soon. But before I start ranting, you know, let's get into some of the accessories here. Alright guys, so here we have all the accessories that came with the figure outside of the body. They gave us a nice little plethora of hands and some other pieces, but I'll kind of get into them one piece at a time here. So first we'll look at the good old, you know, fists, the balled up fist, or the punchy hands as I like to call them. You know, they look good, they look the part. You know, they're not obviously quite as detailed as a true type body's hands, you know, or the Hot Toys body hands, but you know, they're 90% there. They will get the job done. If you're willing and able, they would probably benefit from, you know, quick little touch up with some paint to kind of give a more realistic skin texture. I might actually do that myself, but you know, they look good. They totally get the job done. Then we go on to the gun hands, you know, or the trigger fingers. You know, they look exactly the same, one for each side. So if you want to do some dual wielding action, you can do that. Obviously, I wanted to test out, you know, how these work with a gun in hand. So I brought over, you know, a grappling hook gun from the Batman Armory, and I, you know, plopped this one in there, and I'm happy to report that it does fit. The one thing that I can say though is this is kind of where the quality of the plastic does show, because it's more rigid plastic than true type body, you know, that's a little bit more flexible. Whoops, gun's coming apart. This one, you know, the you kind of feel like if you put a little bit too much stress, you could potentially break one of the phalanges on there. But you know, other than that, the you know, the trigger finger lines up on the trigger just perfectly. So I would say all in all, job well done there. Then we come to the smaller accessory hands. In my case, you know, these will be for holding swords, but they can hold bows, you know, or staff or things of that nature. This one here is kind of, again, another example of where you see some of the quality of what you know, you get what you pay for. There's a little bit of flashing here on this finger that hasn't been cleaned up, you know, so they obviously, you know, in the manufacturing process don't take the time that, you know, Hot Toys does to make sure their quality is 100%. But you know, at the price I paid for this, guys, like, it's totally negligible. I'll get the X-Acto out, clean that up myself, and it'll be like nothing was ever there to begin with. Then you get this bonus hand. It's like a splayed out. All the fingers are splayed out. You know, when I see a hand like this, I read a lot of comic books. I kind of think this is like a magic casting hand, kind of like, you know, Doctor Strange getting ready to throw out a spell. You know, so it's a cool looking hand. You flip it over, it could be like a presenting hand, you know. I don't have any real use for this myself, but it's nice to have in the arsenal. You know, never know, I might eventually get to that. Then we have a neck plug. If, you know, you don't have a Hot Toys neck plug for your head, they gave you one there. An extra joint, which looks like it could be used either for the hips or for the neck, you know, which kind of tells me they're already telling you there's potential for their joints to break. So they gave you one up right on Front Street, but you know, I'm hoping that's not the case for me, but I'm glad I have it in case it does. Then they gave us a sculpted neck in case the head sculpt you're using doesn't have a sculpted neck on it. Then, you know, you got a neck with all the detail ready to go. So, you know, I paid $23 for this. You know, with shipping, it came out to like $26. So, dude, for the price, I'm all about it. Loving it.